Here's what happened. I was 48, a structural engineer, and I thought I had a decent life. Married, 2 great kids, house mostly paid off, vacation planned. A $75,000 trip to Bali. My treat. We hadn't taken a real vacation in years. I wanted it to be perfect. Emily deserved a break. The kids had never seen the ocean. I worked double shifts for months, moved projects around, even picked up a side contract. I thought I was doing something good. 2 nights before we flew out, I came home and checked the final itinerary on my laptop. The kids were asleep. Emily was upstairs. It was a simple spreadsheet Carol, my mother-in-law, had sent out with all the group flight info. 10 people. Her, me, Emily, the kids, 2 cousins, their spouses. And a name I didn't recognize. Brent. No last name. Just Brent. My stomach tightened. I scrolled back up. Same last name as Emily's high school boyfriend. I hadn't heard that name in over a decade. I didn't even know they were still in contact. Turns out Carol invited him. Said he was like family. Emily never told me. I sat in my truck that night for almost an hour, just staring at the dash, feeling like a chump. Like someone who'd planned a wedding and found out the bride's ex was on the guest list, and she never bothered to mention it. And the worst part? I wasn't even surprised. Just deeply, quietly gutted. Looking back, I should have seen it. Not the Brent thing specifically, but the pattern. I paid for everything. That's not an exaggeration. Vacations, cars, braces, birthday parties, groceries, Carol's dental implants. Yes, seriously. I didn't mind at first. I made good money, and I wanted to provide. That's what men in my family did. You work, you protect, you provide. But somewhere along the way, it stopped being generosity and became obligation. And then expectation. Emily used to meet me halfway. Back when we were struggling, we used to go over the bills together, laugh about overdraft fees, plan out date nights even when we couldn't afford takeout. But that version of us faded. We got comfortable, then busy, then separate. Carol moved in for a few months after her hip surgery. That turned into almost 2 years. She never paid rent, never helped with anything, really. But she had opinions, especially about me. I was too serious, too quiet, too boring. No wonder Emily's old flames still text her. She said that once while drunk. Laughed like it was a joke. I told Emily about it. She said her mom didn't mean anything by it. She just says stuff. I wanted to believe that. I wanted to keep the peace. So I kept doing what I always did. Paid the bills. Smiled politely. Stayed in my lane. And convinced myself this was just what marriage looked like after 20 years. But deep down, I was lonely. And the worst part, I didn't even realize how bad it had gotten until I found Brent's name on that itinerary. The next morning, I asked Emily about it. I kept my voice level. I didn't want to fight. I wanted clarity. Why is Brent on the itinerary? She blinked. What? Carol's spreadsheet. Brent is listed. Her eyes flicked away just for a second, but I caught it. That tiny flinch people make when they've already decided on a lie. She said, "Oh, yeah. I meant to tell you. Mom invited him. Said he's been going through a rough time and needed a break. You know how she is." I said nothing. Just stared. She kept talking. "It's not like that. I haven't talked to him in forever. I didn't even know until a few days ago and didn't want to stress you out." That's when it broke for me. Not the lie, although that hurt. Not the fact she knew and kept quiet, although that stung too. It was the way she framed it, like I was the problem. Like my reaction was the issue, not the actual betrayal. "You didn't want to stress me out." I repeated it back to her like it was in another language. I could see her wheels spinning, trying to manage it. "Come on, Dan. We already booked everything. It's not like we're sharing a room. He's just coming along. For the group." For the group. I remember feeling this weird, calm detachment in that moment. Like I was floating outside my body, watching a version of myself nod slowly, while everything inside me snapped. She touched my arm. "Please don't ruin this for everyone." I nodded. "Yeah, I won't." And I meant it. I wasn't going to ruin it. I just wasn't going to be part of their version of it. The thing is, when you spend years ignoring little hurts, they don't just go away. They collect. They stack up like bricks in your gut. And sometimes, one more is all it takes for the whole wall to come down. That was the brick. After she left for work, I sat at the kitchen table for hours, staring at the counter where I'd placed the itinerary. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I didn't even cry. I just made a decision. That evening, I told Emily I'd be working late. I wasn't. I just needed space. I drove around aimlessly for hours, past neighborhoods we used to look at when we were younger and broke, dreaming about the house we'd someday own. Funny how I got us the house, and somehow lost the partnership. When I finally came home, Emily was waiting in the kitchen. She looked nervous, like she was bracing for a fight I didn't have in me. She said she'd talked to her mom and told her it was a mistake to invite Brent without clearing it with me. That was her way of calling it a miscommunication, not a betrayal. Then she said something that stuck with me. Can't we just let it go? It's a vacation. We need this. The kids need this. That line. The kids need this. It was always that. Keep the peace. Don't make waves. Pretend it's fine for the kids. But I wasn't sure what kind of example we were setting by teaching them that swallowing disrespect was normal. I didn't say any of that. I just nodded, said I was tired. The next day, Carol texted me. A long, passive-aggressive novel about how I was misinterpreting her kindness, and how Brent was practically family, and how real men aren't threatened by the past. I stared at that last sentence for a long time. I wasn't threatened. I was betrayed. There's a difference. But somehow, every time I tried to express what I was feeling, it got flipped back onto me. I was too sensitive. I was making drama. I was holding on to grudges. Even Emily started saying things like, "Can we not turn this into a whole thing?" Or, "You're blowing this out of proportion." The gaslighting wasn't even subtle anymore. But I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I just shut down. I felt like a stranger in my own house. A man who paid for the roof and the food and the vacation, and still had no say. So I started making a plan. Not out of anger. Not revenge. Just clarity. It was 2 nights before the flight. The house was buzzing with last-minute chaos. Suitcases open, sunscreen and flip-flops everywhere, Carol loudly directing everyone like she was running a cruise ship. I stayed quiet. I didn't want to tip my hand too early. Then I saw it. Emily left her phone on the counter while she took a call in the other room. A notification popped up from a group chat titled Bali Fam Yellowheart. I hadn't even known such a group existed. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. The most recent message was from Carol. Can't wait to see Emily and Brent catch up, smiling face with heart eyes, LOL, old flames never die fire. Followed by a laughing emoji. Then one of the cousins chimed in. Hope Dan doesn't lose his mind, LOL. And another. He's so uptight. Bet he won't even notice. My hands went cold. I didn't even know what to feel first. Anger, shame, stupidity. All 3 landed at once. So, it wasn't just Carol. It was a joke to the whole group. I was the punchline. Emily came back into the kitchen and saw my face. She froze. She didn't even ask what was wrong, just knew. I showed her the phone.
No yelling. No theatrics.
Just turned the screen to her. She muttered. I didn't see that. I didn't know they said that, but her voice was hollow. I think that's when something inside her cracked too, when she realized she hadn't just failed to protect me, she'd made me a target. That night, after everyone was asleep, I went down to the office and reopened our travel portal. Every booking was under my name. Every flight, hotel, excursion. I had the passwords, the payment records. It took me 2 hours. I canceled every reservation. Then I rebooked. 3 tickets. Me, Lily, Mason. I didn't leave a note. Didn't send a dramatic email. Just locked the office door, turned off the light, and went to bed. I slept like I hadn't in years. The morning we were supposed to leave, I woke up early. The house was quiet except for Carol rattling around in the kitchen, already dressed like she was headed for a beach photo shoot. I poured a coffee and sat at the table. Emily came down next. She looked tired. Her eyes were puffy, like she hadn't slept at all. She opened her mouth to speak, but I raised my hand gently. I canceled the trip, I said.
Calm. No anger.
Just truth. Her mouth opened, then closed again. Like she'd forgotten how to speak. I rebooked for me and the kids. Different airline, different hotel. You're not coming. Silence. Then, you're punishing me. No, I said. I'm protecting myself. Carol walked in mid-conversation, holding a coffee mug that said number 1 grandma. She heard just enough to blow up. Accused me of ruining the family vacation, said I was selfish, called me insecure. Emily didn't stop her. That hurt more than anything. I looked at both of them, then stood up. I'm not fighting. I'm not explaining. The plane leaves in 4 hours. I walked upstairs, packed the last of the kids' things. Lily asked if Mom was coming. I told her, not this time. She didn't cry. Just nodded. Mason didn't say a word. Emily didn't follow me out. Didn't try to block the door. I don't know if it was shock or shame. Maybe both. At the airport, I checked us in under new names. First names only, booked privately, no chance of overlap. I kept checking my phone, half expecting a tearful message, a last-minute run through security, something. But nothing came. On the plane, Mason curled up next to me and fell asleep. Lily pressed her forehead to the window and whispered, "It's really happening." I think she meant more than the flight. That moment, somewhere over the Atlantic, with both my kids asleep against me and the hum of the engines the only sound, I felt something break apart and something else settle. It wasn't peace exactly. It was gravity. We landed in the Maldives just after sunrise. The air smelled like salt and hibiscus, the kind of tropical perfume that usually makes you forget anything ever hurt. But I remembered. The kids were excited, like I hoped they would be. Mason spent half the drive pointing at palm trees and shouting, "Real coconuts." Lily kept asking if she could swim before lunch. I kept smiling. That part came easy. I was happy for them. But I felt hollow inside, like I was playing the role of cool vacation dad, while something deep inside me just stopped. Emily started texting the second we left the airport. At first it was just,
I'm sorry. Please talk to me.
then, the kids need both of us. Then the voice messages started. I didn't listen to them. I couldn't. Carol tried too. Said I was being cruel. Said I was tearing the family apart. She sent a group message to the extended relatives, painting me as unstable, paranoid, bitter. One aunt even texted me privately asking, "Are you sure this isn't just a midlife thing?" A midlife thing. As if years of being disrespected could be reduced to hormones and ego. I didn't respond to any of them. I stayed offline except for photos of the kids I sent directly to Emily. I told her they were safe, healthy, happy. That was it. The resort was beautiful. Villas on stilts over turquoise water, coral reefs visible through the floorboards. The kids loved the glass-bottom kayaks, the buffet, the baby sharks that swam near the shore. At night, when they were asleep, I'd sit on the little deck with a beer and stare at the ocean. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just sat there, numb. I kept replaying the last 6 months. How many times I bit my tongue, how many moments I let slide to keep peace, how often I swallowed discomfort and called it maturity. And I thought, maybe the worst part of betrayal isn't the lie. Maybe it's realizing how much of yourself you gave away just to be tolerated. When we got back, everything felt different. Emily was waiting at the house. She didn't look angry. She looked small. I walked past her with the kids and didn't say a word. I couldn't, not yet. She didn't push. She just asked, "Are they okay?" I nodded. They had fun. That was all I gave her. The next day, I made an appointment with a therapist. Not for the marriage. For me. I didn't want to scream into a pillow. I wanted someone neutral to help me understand how I let things get this far. How I became the guy who paid for a betrayal and then had to justify feeling hurt. Helen, my therapist, asked me a question in our second session that gutted me. What part of you believed you deserved this? I didn't have an answer, but I thought about it for weeks. Because that's what it came down to. It wasn't just that Emily failed me. It's that somewhere deep down, I'd convinced myself I was only valuable if I was useful. If I was needed. If I was quiet. That's why I never raised hell. That's why I let Carol run wild in my house. That's why I never made Emily choose. Because I was terrified that if I ever really demanded something for myself, it would make me disposable. So I gave. And gave. And gave. Until I was just a shell of a husband who footed the bill while being left out of the head count. Clarity didn't come like lightning. It came slow, like fog lifting, like seeing bruises you didn't know you had. I started talking differently, saying no more, setting rules. Small things like, "No, Carol is not welcome here. No, I'm not attending family dinner with people who laughed behind my back. No, I won't talk about healing until there's accountability." Emily resisted at first. Then she started listening. And one day, she asked if she could come to therapy with me. Emily came to therapy, sat next to me with her hands folded so tightly I could see her knuckles turn white. For the first half hour, she barely said a word. Then Helen asked her, "Do you understand what your silence cost him?" Emily nodded, tears running down her face. She said, "I thought if I ignored it, it would go away. I didn't want to choose between you and my mom, so I didn't choose at all. And there it was. It wasn't malice. It was cowardice. She thought avoidance was neutral. But neutrality always benefits the abuser. After that session, I told her clearly, I'm not asking you to hate your mother. I'm asking you to stop letting her disrespect me in our home, in our life, in front of our kids. She said, okay. But I told her, no, not okay like before. I mean boundaries. Consequences. It was the first time I'd ever spoken to her like that. Not harsh. Just firm. Like someone who finally believed he had a right to draw a line.
She didn't argue.
A week later, Carol tried to drop by with groceries for the kids. Emily met her at the door and said she couldn't come in. I watched through the window as Carol's face twisted in disbelief. She stood there for a long time, then got in her car and left. Emily cried afterward, not because she missed her mom, but because she finally understood what it meant to protect someone. That night, she said, I don't know if we can fix us, but I want to try. Not for the kids. For us. And for the first time in a long time, I believed her. We didn't have a dramatic reconciliation. No grand romantic gesture. No candlelit dinner with teary apologies and soft music in the background. We just started living different. She stopped making excuses for her mother. I stopped pretending everything was fine. We had awkward dinners, quiet mornings, long walks where sometimes we didn't speak at all. But the silence felt different. Not loaded. Not bitter. Just open. Emily asked hard questions in therapy. She listened to the answers without getting defensive. She started cooking again, nothing big, just little things like my favorite soup on a Tuesday night. She never said it out loud, but I noticed. And I began letting myself need things. I told her when I was overwhelmed. I told her when something hurt. I told her when I wanted to be alone, and she let me. No guilt, no pushback. Just space. Carol stayed away. For a while, she sent passive-aggressive texts about missing the kids, but Emily never handed me the phone anymore.
Christmas came.
Small, quiet. Just us four. No extended family. No drama. We made cinnamon rolls from a box and watched the kids open presents in pajamas. It wasn't magical, but it felt real. There was a night, maybe 3 months after therapy started, when we were sitting on the porch and she reached for my hand. No words.
Just that.
And I didn't pull away. The damage wasn't gone. But it wasn't gaping anymore. It had become something else. Something like scar tissue, still tender but closed. It's been just over a year now. The Maldives trip feels like it happened in a different life. Sometimes I look at the photos, Lily laughing in the surf, Mason holding a starfish, and I forget, for half a second, what came before it. But only for a second. The truth is, what happened broke us. But it also woke me up. I used to think being a good man meant sacrifice. That the more you swallowed, the stronger you were. That love meant giving until you had nothing left. But that's not love. That's erasure. I see that now.
I'm 49.
I still work as an engineer. I still mow the lawn on Saturdays. I still show up. But I also rest now. I say no. I protect my peace like it's something sacred, because it is. Emily and I are still together. We're not what we used to be. We'll never be that again.
But what we have now is honest.
No more pretending. No more blind loyalty. She's changed too. Smaller ego. Bigger awareness. She checks herself now, especially when it comes to her mother. The kids are good. I think, in some strange way, they're stronger for having seen us break and rebuild. Not perfectly, but intentionally. Every now and then, someone asks me if I've forgiven her. I don't have a clean answer. Forgiveness isn't a door you walk through. It's a path. Some days I'm on it. Some days I get off. But I keep walking. Here's what I know. I lost something on that beach I'll never get back. But I found something too. My voice. My line in the sand. And I won't ever let anyone cross it again.